Okay, so I just wanted to recap my evening. I saw Joan of Arc, and um, I seen it at Quintessence Theater. Well, it's called Saint Joan. That's the name of the play, but it's based on Joan of Arc of France. And they just gave her sainthood like 400 years after the fact of her testimony on Earth. Um, it was a great play. I mean, it showed the truth of her spirit. It showed, you know, what was at stake. Showed her betrayal from France, from the French. The English. Basically, they burnt her. As a POW, a prisoner of war, and they put out Trump charges to say she was a heretic, that she didn't get her inspiration from God, which was false. She was divinely inspired, and it's just the men were all corrupted. They were very corrupted men in the system. And like if she had been a guy, then it wouldn't have been an issue, because the issue was that she wore men's clothes. If she had been a male, she it wouldn't have been this much uproar, because she wore male clothes and she was good at defeating the English, and it just she was a miracle. It's just the things that she was able to do and inspiring people. People, the French, I mean, like when they would be around her, and not even just the French, the English too, like they felt something from her. Like she had a spirit of truth, and they felt that faith from her. She was a true believer, and you feel that when you're around true believers, that inspiration. That's the touch of God. And yeah, just at towards the end, the enemies, the demons and men couldn't have it. The fact that a woman, a maid, a young girl, innocent girl, is doing this much power in the name of God, in the name of the Lord. Like she could do that with that ardent faith. They were afraid of losing their power. At the end of the day, men are afraid of losing their power. They're afraid of losing the government. They're afraid of losing the church. Because if you could do what she did just by having pure faith, then they're no longer needed. So they were really just holding on to their power. They're afraid of losing their power, and that's why they had the Inquisition and basically crucified her in the style of just like burning her on the stake. Like the way they put her on trial was very like Jesus Christ, really. And they burnt her, and it was just good. It's understandable why she needed the cross towards the end, because she needed to keep her faith. Because when someone's trying to murder you and kill you, like your faith, is tested. Like you could waver, and you don't want to die with the last thoughts of betraying your faith or just doubting your whole existence or your whole meaning. So she needed someone to hold the cross for her towards the end and keep her in that state of mind. Like I know who I am. Like I know I've heard God's voice. I know I talk to saints, and they got me to do these things, and it kept her pure. It saved her soul, literally. It kept her on the right path, because she was losing herself. Because anyone would get scared towards the end. She was being threatened with torture, long-term imprisonment. If she recanted, and she went with death, because she didn't want to like be in prison for the rest of her life and never see the light of day. She's like, I'd rather meet the fire, because I know God is with me. I know God is in me. So let me just leave this earth plane, because you guys are ready for me. You're not here mentally. Like those guys are sick. A lot of these men are sick. They're mentally ill, really. It's like spiritually ill. They don't have the spirit. They not really believing anymore, and they're kind of mentally compromised. They're corruptible, and really, if you look at the state of their soul, they have like a mentally ill consciousness, and if they feel very slow and very kind of zombie like. So these guys are stupid anyway. Like they'll be able to do any kind of thing to you. So you got to keep your faith, because this is the type of people we're dealing with, even from Joan's time. I'm about to see the play Dr. Faustus. And it talks about people like that too. Dr. Faustus is a play about man's state of consciousness and where it's at, and it hasn't really changed much. Like these are dying souls, and it's hard for them to believe. So we should never really mock them or get on them, because they're really hard to believe now. Like they're non-believers for a reason. So you have to have just as much faith to try to help people who are around you, to heal them, because when you have the faith, it heals other people. So you just got to do your own thing right now. and just hope that other people will learn and get that energy from just being around you. So that's what I want to say about faith. I want to say that about Saint Joan. She is a saint, or was a saint, and she has faith. She has ardent faith, and at least she's been vindicated. It took 400 years later, but at least she's vindicated, because look how many people who actually did stand up for God, for Christ, and who are not vindicated. You know what I mean? So it's like, at least she's a woman who did actually become vindicated. In my mind, she will always be France to me. France would not be France. France wouldn't even have a country if it wasn't for this girl. Okay, they didn't even have a recognized country because the English were over there. You know, they didn't even like her because of that, because she allowed them to have their own nation. They didn't have a own nation before that. Like, the English was over there occupying their territory. They trying to, you know, like, own everything and shit, and like conquer everything. So France owes everything to Joan, Saint Joan. Saint Joan is France. So give her some proper credit. Give her some props.